Hey everyone, this is Derrick Broze of the Conscious Resistance Network, and we are just a few days away from Expose Bill Gates Day of Action, International Day of Action, everywhere on June 13th, 2020. And I have with me James Corbett, who by now most of you have probably seen, hopefully have seen his documentary, four-part documentary on Bill Gates, or maybe read my three-part investigation on Bill Gates, or seen many of the videos that are out there right now. But James, how are you doing, and how do you feel about the response to your documentary? You're almost at 1 million views for the first video.
Yeah, well, at least that's what YouTube says. Trust it
Yeah.
as far as you can throw it. I know the view counts are throttled and it's all a internet point game anyway, but it's clearly the word is getting out, and I have gotten a lot of feedback on it, a lot of positive feedback from a lot of people, including people who weren't previously open to this information. So that is a hopeful sign. And my hat's off to you for doing your three-part investigation as well. For anyone in my audience who has seen the or hasn't seen the Gates documentary but hasn't read your work, I hope they will go and do so because you fill in other parts of the story, including. Let me give a special hat tip and thank you. You dug up that picture of Professor William Gates from the University of Louisiana or whatever. That was
Yeah.
as I've said in a couple of interviews now, that was one of those nuggets that I dug up at like 1 a.m. as I was working on this, and I could not go to bed until I figured out, is this William H. Gates, the grandfather? And the only specific piece was in that American Eugenics Society
Yeah.
roster that isn't exactly an official roster, so they were sourcing other documents and what have you. Anyway, in that it was saying this was a Professor William H. Gates from the University of Louisiana, who is not, that would not be Gates's grandfather. But I couldn't verify that. I couldn't nail it down.
Yeah.
I couldn't even find records of that particular professor. You found the picture from the records. So anyway, a little bit more. I tend to believe that probably was not
Yeah.
Gates's grandfather, but I still don't know. And if anyone has anything definitive on that, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, on that whole detail, it seems like unless we can confirm that Gates's grandfather did go to Louisiana, because they're mainly from the Northwest, like his
Yeah.
family seems to be from that area. So unless he went down to Louisiana, became a professor, and then made his way back to the Washington
The
State.
official story is he was a furniture store owner in Seattle, so it nothing to do
Yeah.
with the professor.
Just
But
a totally different Gates who is a
yeah,
part of the Eugenics Society.
a different William H. Gates, no less. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, so I mean, I've been really awesome, glad to see the response, and I appreciate you as well what you just said about getting response from people who maybe are previously unopened, because I have been getting some of that, but I don't know if you've noticed this. I mean, you've been over a lot of targets over the years, but as soon as we started releasing my investigation on Last American Vagabond, the website has been under attack for about the last 2 weeks, and I don't know, it could be my work, Whitney's work, somebody else's work, it could be any number of things. I don't know for certain, but either way, I have not had the amount of trolls I've had the more that I've had the last 2 weeks. People literally calling me and leaving angry messages, people messaging me all kinds of just crazy things. But I've also got a lot of resistance to people looking at Bill Gates, and that's one of the main reasons I wanted to do this. And then seeing yourself and others trying to pick apart this, because he's being propped up on the main stage for everybody right now, right? And that's, I think, why of course, he's not the top of the pyramid per se, but the pieces of the puzzle are clearly there. He's connected to the Rockefellers. He's connected to a lot of the same web of people, the Ted Turners and the Soros and all those folks, that I think it still makes him an important player. And especially in a time right now where people are being like, they're seeing his face all over the media and supposed to believe that his opinion should matter to them and that he's an expert. And so some of the responses I get, oh great, let's focus on the man who's literally saved millions of lives, and the man who's just trying to spend all of his money to help us fight off a pandemic. And some of those people I think aren't going to be reached, but I am hopeful, and I have been a bit optimistic just to see that Gates has been eaten alive all over social media and can't seem to post anywhere on social media without a whole army of people coming to call him out for his agenda. So it seems now, and I love the way that you end the documentary, which plays perfectly into what I've been trying to do here and other people have been trying to help with, is to issue a call to action. Like, I think that was just the perfect way to end your documentary. It's like we are at a crucial window with everything we're seeing right now, and Gates has said several times they plan to vaccinate 7 billion people on this planet. They've said that they're going to have the vaccine by January at the latest, maybe as soon as October in the US, and Operation Warp Speed and all these kinds of things, and all the power players are right there involved in the whole COVID operation. If was ever a window to try to wake people up to what's going on, this is the window. So, I mean, anything you want to say as far as like encouraging people to get out there? I know you've already got some people printing out flyers, and we're trying to do the same thing.
Right. So I think there are 2 points to be made here. One is that absolutely right. That I don't think Bill Gates is the top of the pyramid and he's the one. And I hope people will get that once they watch the full Gates series. It's not Bill Gates is the source of all evil, and if we take care of him, this will take care of itself. No, of course not. But Bill Gates is the identifiable figure that everyone out there has heard of. Everyone has some understanding of the Gates Foundation and at least the PR side of it, of what they're supposedly doing. So it's a great way to put a handle on this bigger story that is unfolding, that has to do with the vaccine manufacturers, and it has to do with various U.S. government agencies and government agencies around the world, and the World Health Organization, and all of these players. But Bill Gates is like the spider in the center of the web, with funds going out to documentably to every single branch of that web. Well, that's a mixed metaphor, but anyway, you get the idea. So it's not about Gates per se, but it is about pointing out the network, which he is clearly a part of, a central part of, and what that agenda really is. And that's why I did end with that call to action. If you have now watched this documentary or read your series, you are better informed about the real story behind this PR gloss of Bill Gates, the savior from heaven, than most of the people on the planet. And what do you do with that information? That is really the question. And if we all just, okay, now I know that, and I'll just go on with the rest of my life, that isn't going to help the situation that's unfolding. And as I'm sure my listeners, I'm sure your regular audience right now will know, this is really everything I've been warning about for years and years, all coming to a head in this one moment of this crisis-opportunity to push this through to the other side and to get the biometric ID databases and the contact tracing and the vaccines to everyone that, oh, by the way, will be part of this identity grid that will be tied into the cashless payment system. It's just every part of this agenda is coming together right now. And we have this brief window of opportunity before these vaccines are thrust upon the population, and before and as the narrative that we've been sold for the past few months is crumbling right under our noses, right before our very eyes. The entire basis of all of this scamdemic scare of the last few months is crumbling right now. CDC is coming out and admitting, yeah, it's about the same fatality as a high seasonal flu. The lockdown was unnecessary. There's absolutely every part of this is crumbling right now, but people are getting distracted, and now that we're arguing about other things, so that it's almost like the last few months happened but didn't happen, and we're still going to have to change the world forever, but don't think about why. It's absolute insanity, and that's why this is the window of opportunity. Don't let go of this. We have to be the attack dogs with the little ragdoll in our mouth. Do not let go of it. Absolutely keep this issue in front of people's faces, so that when they come out in a few months and say, we've got the vaccine, people will not be willingly going up and rolling up their sleeves to be the human guinea pigs for this technology and everything else that comes with it. It's absolutely crucial. So yes, it is now incumbent on the people who have this information to, at the very least, spread this information to others, let alone to act upon it in their own lives. And that's why I think things like the idea, expose Bill Gates, is such an important idea. I know your audience has heard about this yet. Maybe some of my audience doesn't. Tell people about what it is you're doing.
Yeah, so just to add to that, even as far as you're talking about the pandemic, the panic right now, even the Gates-funded World Health Organization just came out today and say, hey, actually, there's an extremely rare potential for asymptomatic people to spread anything, so even they're admitting, well, maybe the whole reason of keeping you apart and locking you down was unnecessary. So there is a window right now because coincidentally, once again, Gates funded the Imperial College of London models that were very much used to predict this and to call for lockdowns. And so there's so many different connections we can weave there. So what we're calling for is this Saturday, June 13th, wherever you're at, the simplest, most basic thing you can do, change your social media profile. And I would say, I think you can probably do better than that. But let's say that's the starting level, right? Change your profile pic so people can see that in the next few days. Create an event in your area, whether that's on meetup.com or freedomcells.org, or I guess Facebook and these other ones if you want to use them. But wherever you use social media, create an event. And if you email that to me, I will put it on our website and try to promote it. We've got people in Mexico City. We've had folks in China reach out, India, Germany, of course, the U.S., across the U.S., people in Spain, Italy, a couple other places. So it really is starting to become an international thing. And we're just basically saying, If you can't get to the streets, then spend all of June 13th spreading the documentary. Post the 4 parts throughout the day. Post my 3-part investigation. Post other videos that are relevant, and materials and memes and whatever you can come up with. And if you can get to the streets, organize events, host documentary screenings. I think it would be really great if people could host screenings of your film and invite friends and family who are willing to listen, whether that's at somebody's house or out at a community center, whatever. I had some people reach out saying they're trying to project your documentary onto the side of a building out in the public. So, I mean, people are being very creative, and that's what I'm calling for. Again, as you said in your video earlier today, this is a decentralized movement. So if you feel called to act, you don't need to email me and ask me what to do. Just act. Go ahead and organize an event, and if you don't see one in your area yet, that means you're the one that needs to organize it. Basically, that's kind of how we're rolling with this. So step up however you can, using the hashtag expose Bill Gates, sharing the documentary, the parts of the documentary, sharing my investigation, sharing other relevant, and I want to stress credible information, because as you showed recently in your the whole what was the vaccine one that was going around, the recent disinformation about the Bill Gates is talking to the CIA, whatever. There's a lot of bad information out there. So please stick to, I don't want to just say only share our work, because there's other good work out there, but definitely do your best to stick to credible, factual things. And to that point, I'll post in the show notes for this, I have a couple of flyers made up that are basically just bullet points from my articles. And I started out with the most basic stuff that you don't have to start with the eugenics. And I guess this is a question I had for you, James, is like, if you have any advice for people. My advice is start off on the fact that we know Bill Gates is hiding his money and using it to influence global health institutions. That's kind of a non-controversial fact, but even that is unknown to a lot of people that don't really understand who he is. Maybe that's a better place to start than just with, hey, Bill Gates is trying to kill you and eradicate your whole family and reduce population. You usually don't get people willing to listen to that right off the bat. But anything you want to offer as far as what approaches people should take?
Right. Well, my first statement that I want to underline is that I'm not telling people what to do or not to do. If there's a question of this or this or this or this, my answer is always yes. Whatever it is that you want to do, the way you want to do it, go out there and do it is better than not doing it. So I'm not going to police what people are doing, but I will say, for example, when I structured the documentary, there's a reason why part 1 starts at monopolization of global health. Part 2 goes to the vaccination. Part 3 goes to the population control grid. And part 4 starts to talk about eugenics, is because I think, yes, you do have to lead people into this information in a way that will make sense, rather than just coming out, yeah, they're trying to kill you with the vaccines. It sounds crazy until you see the bigger picture. It's always a question of how you present that. That was my way of attempting to lead an audience, hopefully not just preaching to the choir, but leading a larger audience into that story, which is there. It's just a question of the way that you approach it. So my sentiment on this always comes back to it really depends on your audience, the way that you structure this information. So if you're making a flyer that you're just going to post up wherever or hand out on the street or to total random strangers, yeah, you probably want to think about, well, what bullet points do I want to put in there? How much information? How much do I want to sort of tease people so that they'll actually want to go to look at it and all of that? But then again, if you're talking to your friend, if you're going to email your friend or talk to your friend, then you know your friend better than I know your friend. So you know what kind of information they'll resonate with. Maybe they're particularly interested in the vaccine issue, or maybe they're more interested in global health or whatever it is. But there's always an in with certain people if you know that person. Thirdly, I want to say that I want people to interpret this as creatively as possible. Yes, June 13th, let's use that as a date that we can all focus on, and we can make sort of a push out of that. But things do not end on June 13th, of course. I think this is an ongoing effort, and I want people to be as creative as possible in interpreting what this means to get the information out to other people. It may mean organizing protests or marches or events like that, but if that's not your cup of tea, that's great. It's not really my cup of tea either. I don't participate in protests like that on the street with signs. I make documentaries that hopefully will reach millions of people. If you don't do that, maybe you do something else. For example, I love the idea of holding a screening of this documentary for people. People will often, free movie, free documentary, okay, let's go. And there's a discussion time afterwards or whatever it is. Maybe you can rent out a community center or a library room or whatever the case may be, and just screen it. Of course, you have permission. You don't need to ask permission for me to screen the documentary. Screen it to whoever in any context at any time and have discussion about it. Whatever it is that you can do to get this information and get this discussion going, please do it. And when you do it, also think about how you can model that to others. So if you do something like that, report back to let us know that it happened or that it's going to happen. Report to let us know it did happen, how it went, so that other people can see that and get ideas from it. The only way decentralized movements like this work is if everyone's out there doing their thing and they report about how it's going, and people can learn from that and take it forward. I don't have all the a million different ideas that people out there will have for how to spread the word about this information, but I do have faith that through together we will be able to come up with better ideas than any one of us ever will.
Absolutely. And just for those who might be unaware, we definitely are building a coalition of alternative independent media and trying to keep this as nonpartisan as possible, because I think that there are folks even maybe who lean, way far on the left or way far on the right, who are starting to question Bill Gates for a variety of reasons. Like you said, whether it's the vaccine issue, it's the it's just his call for lockdowns, or hey, why are we trusting this guy who's not a scientist, or why are we listening to him again? So I just want to stress that everybody be creative, as James was saying, do whatever you can. June 13th is hopefully just a beginning. And if there is some sort of movement on this, maybe every Saturday becomes Exposed Bill Gates Day. Maybe every day becomes Exposed Bill Gates Day. Maybe it gets to the point where Gates can't go anywhere without being afraid that not only will there be a pie waiting for him, but there will be people calling him out for his crimes and his activities. So I appreciate you putting the time in, James, to make that amazing documentary. And I definitely will be sharing it, continuing to share it with more people. We're going to go out and pass out flyers which will link to your film this Saturday in Houston, and just try to talk to as many people as possible. And really, I'm also trying to tap into the spirit of protest that we're seeing right now. And hey, people want to go to the streets. Well, maybe this is a time to help them see how this connects to some of the other issues they care about, And so I'm optimistic for it, and I appreciate everybody who is making the effort. Again, Expose Bill Gates Day, June 13th, and as often as possible. Share James's documentary, share my article if you can, share whatever other credible information you find, talk to your family, your friends, and just put it out there, and we will try to do what we can to keep exposing the lies of people like Bill Gates. Anything else, James?
I think that's going to cover it. I think this is a great idea, and I want to see where this develops from here, because as you say, this is just the start, and hopefully we can develop something more out of this. And once again, this isn't all about Bill Gates, but it is a good way to get people interested in understanding the bigger picture of what's happening. And if we keep our eye on the bigger prize, I think we can really do something to throw this crumbling narrative back in the face of the would-be narrative controllers, even as all of their lies start to crumble before them. We can get this word out at this point. This is the most crucial juncture of our lives. I don't say that lightly. I don't say that all the time. I really mean this. This truly is the game for all the marbles. So I hope people are taking it as seriously as I am.
I agree. All right, everybody. Till next time. This is Derrick Broze, the Conscious Resistance Network. You are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Peace.